Scrimmage number 1. It's come and gone for Tennessee football. The good, the bad, the ugly. We're going to recap it all here from Josh Heupel and what all this means heading into week 3 and scrimmage 2, which is really just in a couple of days. That and a lot more. It's your Friday Locked On Vols.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome into it. This is your Friday Locked On Vols, and I'm your host, Eric Kane. Every single weekday right here, 30 minutes, maybe a couple more, 31, 32. Try not to get about 35. I know I do sometimes, but it's your number one place for volunteers podcasting. It's right here, Locked On Vols. Appreciate you guys for being here. We got a lot to get into here today. Scrimmage notes in segment 1. Some Josh Heupel quotes. We'll hear from Josh Heupel on what he thought of the scrimmage in segment 2. And ESPN FBI. I don't know if you guys have seen this yet. Some mixed feelings. We'll get into that here in segment number 3. Can't thank you guys enough for being here. Shout out to Anderson. He sent me a message on, actually he commented on the YouTube page, said, hey, I sent out a clip of yours to a couple of my friends and they have subscribed to Locked On Vols on YouTube. So appreciate you guys. I've been making that push to 8K and we're about to get there, and we're still weeks and weeks and weeks away from opening day, but I can't thank you enough. We're about 60 away, I think, at the time of this recording. So you guys are absolutely incredible. Let's go ahead and get into it, though. Got a whole lot to get into. First, some scrimmage notes from Tennessee football on a Thursday morning. Yeah, it wasn't the best morning, okay? There was rain in the area. The field was kind of wet. Some players were held out for precautionary reasons. I don't think anything was major with the majority of these guys. Like, a lot of the receivers didn't give it a go. And again, I don't think that's anything to worry about. Just give an opportunity to the younger guys. But wet field, all that type of stuff. So some guys didn't go. We'll get into Cooper Mays here in a moment. But I think the overall theme of the scrimmage in week 1 was kind of what we expected, right? I think the defensive front had a good day. I think the defensive front kind of led the way, set the tone really, really good against the run. We'll get into Josh Heupel and what he thinks about that here in a moment. But I think the defense kind of set the tone. I think the offense came around a little bit as the day went on. I think they ended up making some plays both on the ground and through the air towards the back half of the scrimmage. So overall, I think the defense was the winner of this scrimmage from everybody I've been talking to and everything that we've kind of heard from Josh Heupel. Having said that, I think the quarterbacks played well. Joe Milton, I've been told from people in attendance, media can't go, but there are more important people than me that can go and watch those scrimmages, I'll tell you that. And some of them are kind. And I know them. And so, anyway, from people I've heard on the inside, Joe Milton looked good. Nico looked good in scrimmage 1. So that's always good to hear, right? You always want your quarterbacks to be efficient and to look good. But, just some scrimmage 1 issues that you'd expect. Some pass interference penalties defensively, some offensive line breakdowns. And we knew that was probably going to happen, right? So I think that was kind of the theme of scrimmage number 1. Again, there were a lot of players who did not participate in this one. We'll hear what Josh Heupel has to say about Cooper Mays, but essentially he was not at practice on Monday. He was around Tuesday, but he wasn't out there doing stuff. He wasn't there Wednesday. And so what we thought was a very minor deal to begin with, and people you spoke to, I even threw out the phrase maintenance day, and maybe that was a mistake by me, but when you checked on this initially, it was, it's nothing, he'll be right back. I was like, okay, well, Jerome Carvin got tons of maintenance days last year. But it is ending up being something. Josh Heupel described it as he's having to take a minor procedure, and he's going to be out a few weeks, and he'll be getting healthy closer to kickoff. And so looks like Cooper Mays is not going to be here for the next couple of weeks, and we'll have to see what his status is for week 1. But long term, it's not going to be an issue. So that is the good thing. But obviously, Cooper Mays didn't play in this scrimmage. A lot of the receivers didn't play in the scrimmage. But some of the highlights, of course, that I was told, Caleb Webb, rising sophomore wide receiver. I think he had a good day. He was one of the guys mentioned by Josh Heupel along with Chaz Nimrod, who kind of stood out. Heard he made a nice catch, so that was good to see. Cam Seldon, everybody you talk to says he looks really good. Of course, we get to lay eyes on him at practice for a little bit, but in a scrimmage setting, everybody said that he looked pretty good. I think he was active in the passing game out of the backfield, which was a good thing. I think Dylan Sampson was as well, and I was told that there was some catches out of the backfield, which again hasn't been a huge part of Tennessee's offense the first 2 years under Josh Heupel. But with all the receivers, with some receivers missing in the scrimmage, and losing, obviously, Jalen Hyatt and Cedric Tillman and all that. Maybe that's going to be more a part of the offense moving forward. Just get the ball out there to these guys, let them go make plays. We'll see. But I think a couple of times that was the instance on a Thursday in Tennessee scrimmage. Heard that Gerald Mincey did rep some on the right side of right tackle with the second group. So that was, obviously of note, because every time we've been out there, he's been with the twos on the left side. And obviously John Campbell, barring injury, knock on wood, he's going to be starting left tackle. And you would think that Gerald Mincey and J.J. Crawford would be battling it out at right tackle. But so far it's been a whole lot of J.J. Crawford, Dane Davis, and not as much Gerald Mincey. But it was told that he got some work on the right side, which was obviously a good thing. Heard a lot of good things about Ethan Davis, freshman tight end, and McCallum Castles. I think both those guys had a really strong day, and both those guys are going to have to play a lot. You'll hear from Josh Heupel here in a moment to compliment Jacob Warren, because you want to play 3 tight ends in this offense. Tennessee's only been able to play 2 tight ends the first 2 years, but if those guys continue to come along, that's huge. But McCallum Castles, no matter what's going to have to play, and Ethan Davis is an injury away, so that was really, really good to see. I mentioned the defensive line did a really good job stopping the run, especially early in the scrimmage. Nico and Joe looked pretty good. Tackling, defense tackled well. Heard that from some people in attendance, and Josh Heupel even mentioned that in his press conference. And that one almost kind of surprised me, not because Tennessee's not a good tackling team, but again, it's early in camp. Tackling, arm tackles, not keeping your feet, stuff like that. That's pretty relevant early in fall camp. But heard it was a pretty good tackling day. So again, that's really, really good. They don't give out stats. I haven't seen any video of it yet from UT Athletics, but I did hear that Joe Milton threw at least 1 touchdown pass. So, that's obviously good to see. And then of course, when you look at that secondary, lots of competitions. We've heard that Warren Burrell's practicing a little bit at the star right now. Tamiri McDonald's been sidelined with a minor deal during camp, so there's opportunity there. Cornerbacks, there's like 7 guys competing for 2 spots. I think I've kind of said all along that if they played tomorrow, I feel like it'd be Kamal Haddon and Nico Slaughter be the 2 starting cornerbacks, but you want to keep those competitions up. But the biggest story is, and we'll continue to talk about this is the offensive line. Cooper May's now out for a couple of weeks with injury. You've already been trying to find a backup center. And in the process, Ollie Lane, who is in contention to start at left guard with Andre Keurig and Jackson Lampley and some of these other guys, he's going to slide down and play some center. He's going to enter his name in that conversation. And depending on when Cooper Mays comes back, somebody's going to have to snap the football. And Ollie Lane is a guy, and again, I'll have a soundbite on this in a moment, but, center's not his home, but he's practiced it a couple of years. He's, a guard. He's played a lot of snaps at guard in this offense, but he's snapped, and he's out there with the centers first group and pregame before every game. So he's familiar with it, but you need someone to keep the tempo up and to snap the football and all that. And Ollie Lane, might be that guy. He got some work with each of the past 2 days snapping the football. So I think that's something to be mindful of. But, say hypothetically, Ollie Lane has to start a game at center because Cooper Mays isn't back yet. Andre Keurig, how are you coming along at left guard? Jackson Lampley, where are you at? Addison Nichols thought that he'd play a role in the left guard position, but he's been straining and working and trying to prove that he could be the backup center. So again, there's some question marks on the offensive line right now. You feel good about tackles and their versatility and all that. Could we see a backup tackle slide in and have some guard depth? Dane Davis has played guard. He's practiced guard throughout his time at Tennessee a little bit. He's a tackle. He's never played it in a game, but wouldn't shock me whatsoever if that could be a move later in fall camp. There's some questions on the offensive line. I had a story about it yesterday over at VolQuest.com. There's some questions on the offensive line right now, but there's versatility. Versatility is your friend, and I think that's going to help Tennessee in the long run. So anyway, those were kind of some notes and stuff that I've gathered and talking with some people, and of course, seeing and hearing what Josh Heupel had to say yesterday. He was pleased with the day. We'll hear his opening remarks here in just a moment, but he was very pleased with the day and excited about what happened. But obviously notes, there's a long way to go. That was scrimmage number 1. They'll come back, have an off day today. They'll practice Saturday, Sunday, an off day on Monday. They'll practice Tuesday, and then they're going to scrimmage again. And you really want to start seeing some things solidified in that second scrimmage. So a good day overall on Thursday for scrimmage number 1. We will hear from Josh Heupel. How good of a day was it the head football coach of the University of Tennessee, some press clippings from his presser yesterday, and that is coming up next right here on Locked On Vols. But before we get into that, guys, I want to remind you about our friends over at eBay Motors. For a championship team, it's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. It's the same way when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time you need parts and accessories, I encourage you to head on over to eBay Motors. With eBay's Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure every part you need fits right the first time around. Just add your ride to the My Garage and look for the green check to know the part will fit, or your money is back. Not a bad deal, right? Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop at eBay Motors. And with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, the right fit, for the right prices, all at ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. Hey guys, welcome back into your Friday edition of Locked On Vols. Congratulations for making it to the end of the week. Let's all pat ourselves on the back right here. Tennessee football just a couple of weeks away. It's kind of hard to believe. We're right in the middle of fall camp now, and it's starting to kind of feel like that time. Still hotter than hell outside, which is not great, but it really is starting to feel like that time. So I appreciate you guys for being here, following this podcast, liking it, rating it 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, leaving a positive review, all that stuff. It moves the needle. It helps out a lot, so I can't thank you enough for that. So I told you what I think. I told you some things that I've heard. What about Josh Heupel? What did he have to say about scrimmage number 1? This is moments after the scrimmage wrapped up, and we'll go ahead and start with his opening remarks. Here's Josh Heupel on scrimmage number 1.
Really good day out there, great energy. We got some special teams work, some live work for those guys, which I think is really important at this point in training camp. Really like what our specialists have done up until this point, but really good for the guys that are covering our blocking to get some live work. Offensively and defensively, really good day. I think we got out relatively clean today too, and which is important. But I thought defensively, great energy, great effort. In particular, really early in the scrimmage, did a great job against the run early too, and got off the field on some third downs. And offensively, create some plays on the back half of the scrimmage, run game, and a couple plays in the pass game too. So all in all, really good day. We got a lot ahead of us. We got to grow, and that starts this afternoon when they come back to us too. But all in all, really excited about what happened today.
Josh Heupel on scrimmage number 1, and so he sounded encouraged. It didn't sound like it was fake or anything. I think he knows that it's certainly not a finished product. Again, feel like, some things, I heard from the scrimmage and everything. There were your typical couple offensive line breakdowns, some drops, pass interferences, some penalties, but nothing was major. Like I remember before one of the scrimmages, it was either last fall or maybe last spring practice, I can't remember, but one of the scrimmages was dominated by procedural penalties, like pre-snap penalties. And I spoke on that yesterday. You don't want to see that. Haven't heard that to be a huge issue in this scrimmage, but obviously, again, I'm not there. But that was Josh Heupel, his opening remarks on, obviously, what he thought about the scrimmage. The big news the last couple of days, and he confirmed it here. I'll play in a moment. Cooper Mays, a minor procedure, going to be out a couple of weeks. What's this mean for him, the center position? Ollie Lane getting some work now at center. What does Josh Heupel think about that? Here is what he had to say in his press conference.
Coop had a minor procedure late yesterday, and he'll be back. He'll be healthy as we get close to kickoff. Anticipate that being a couple-week deal. But today we rotated through a bunch of guys, Ollie, Parker Ball, young guys, Vyson, Addison Nickel, and those guys are all competing for those spots. All of those guys have taken some reps, even when Coop was here too, as we continue to look for that backup center spot. Yeah, Ollie really smart, played a lot of football, has played multiple positions, has repped at the 3 interior spots since the time that we've gotten here. He's been really good. The communication, the mechanics, us being able to play with tempo the way that we want to when it presents itself. It's been really easy for him to transition inside.
So, you like that last part, right? You want your starting center to be out there, but somebody in fall camp, these are critical reps, right? You got a couple more scrimmages. You got practice every day. This offense, this tempo, it needs to be getting, kind of ramped up, right? And you need somebody to snap the football. So you've always been trying to search for that backup center. you truly haven't had one since Josh Heupel's been here. Remember back in 2021 when Cooper Mays had to miss some time? It was Jerome Carvin that slid down. Last year, thankfully, Cooper Mays was good, but you still had Jerome Carvin if need be. This year, you don't have that security blanket, and you're trying to find a backup center. Maybe Ollie Lane would be that and still end up being the left guard. It's all about finding those 5 right guys on the offensive line. So it was good to hear the things he had to say about Ollie Lane, who's now a 6-year member of the program from nearby Gibbs High School. He's getting a whole lot of work. And again, we're talking about him at center right now, but he's very much up there in that conversation when all's healthy to be the starting left guard for this football team week 1. So we'll see how those players develop. And, of course, Andre Carrick and Jackson Lampley and Addison Nichols and, all these other names are kind of mentioned in this conversation. So what about Joe Milton, though? How is Joe Milton looking? How is he operating at this stage in fall camp in the scrimmage? What did he look like on Thursday? And what are some things to work on? A lot of good things here from Josh Heupel on his quarterback, Joe Milton.
Joe, I thought operationally was really good. There's some situational stuff that we can be better, coming out situation. We did some 4-minute things at the end as well. So it's a great opportunity. Coaches are completely off the sidelines. Coaches are up in the box. Guys got to learn how to operate in between the white lines. So there's growth in that way for Joe. All in all, really pleased with his decision-making, what he did with the football all day long, his command. Processing the offense, he's operating and handling at a really high level right now. Decision-making, understanding protections, how to get himself protected or, throw hot. His eyes as far as, what he's seen from the second level, pre-snap and on the snap, he's been really good at that part of it. Situational football for the quarterback, continuing to grow just in understanding, 4-minute situation, which we did from a backed up situation today, clock management, all of those things are just a continued part of all of those guys' growth, from Joe all the way to Gaston Moore and everybody that's in the room.
A lot of good stuff there from from Josh Heupel on Joe Milton. And even there at the end when he's talking about, things he needs to improve on, situational football. He hasn't been a starting quarterback in a long time. And so it's not like you forget, but and you can simulate it all you want in practice, just like you're in a scrimmage, but until you're out there and you've had a couple of different 4-minute drills and 2-minute drills and third down situations, goal line situations, that type of stuff, you kind of got to get in the feel and the rhythm of how to operate in that. And not like he was bad, just things to work on. And so I thought that was some good stuff there from Josh Heupel on the quarterback and Joe Milton. Last clip I'm going to play, it's about those tight ends I spoke on earlier. McAllen Castles, the transfer from the portal this offseason. Ethan Davis coming from the high school ranks. Davis broke his collarbone in the orange and white game, but he's back. He's in fall camp, and it sounds like he's going to play some football for Tennessee. Here's Josh Heupel on his 2 backup tight ends, McAllen Castles and Ethan Davis.
Yeah, both those guys will play a ton of football. At this point, really believe that both of them will play at a really high level when they're out there on the field. McAllen and really both of them are, so much further ahead than they were when they finished spring ball. Both of them are seasoned in what we're doing offensively. McAllen's been really good out on the perimeter. Ethan Davis is too. It's really natural for those guys to be playmakers out in space. That's true today. It's been true through the first 7 practices before we got out here too. Have the ability to be dynamic in the pass game. Both of them have gotten really comfortable and continue to grow inside the core too. And Callie, I thought yesterday was his best day inside the core. Really pleased with what those guys are doing.
Yeah, both those guys come from pass-happy systems. Ethan Davis is a wide receiver in high school. And a big physical one, but he's a wide receiver. And McAllen Castle's more of a receiving tight end. So both those guys still kind of learning the inline stuff, hand in the dirt, tight end, H-back. Tennessee's tight ends very much have to play in an H-back role in this system as well. So they're kind of learning, and they went through spring learning that and fall camp. And, hopefully they're feeling more comfortable in that regard because, hey, the season opener is right around the corner. So all in all, sounds like scrimmage number 1 was a productive one. Was it perfect? No. Did the defense win? From everything I've heard, probably yes. But, it was good work on both sides. And as the scrimmage went on, it sounds like the offense came around and made some plays, which is what you want to see and what you want to hear. So it's all about limiting mistakes, limiting those MAs, those missed assignments, and being more productive in scrimmage 2, and then ultimately as you lead up on into week number 1 against Virginia. So when we come back, though, what does ESPN FBI think, the Football Power Index, on the Tennessee Volunteers. I think some of the stuff I'll read you'll really, really enjoy, and then what their season prediction is for Tennessee, I don't think you're going to enjoy as much. That is coming up next right here on Locked On Vols. We got a final segment left here, Locked On Vols, here on this work week. It's Friday. Hope you guys and gals have a great weekend. Enjoy it. Relax a little bit. We got practice to cover on Saturday and Sunday, but the rest of the days are free, so hopefully I'll have an alcoholic drink in my hand, be sitting poolside or by some type of water, whether it be lake, river. That's what I like to do when I have some time on the weekends. Not going to have a whole lot of time on the weekends. It's funny because I'm super busy during football season, obviously. During the winter months, I have some more time. I mean, this past year covering baseball, goodness gracious, I was busy from mid-February up until the end of June. So love what I do and everything, but there's not too many Saturday afternoons where I can pick and choose what I want to do. So I know I am looking forward to it, and I hope you are as well. So, but anyway, it's fun to do all that stuff, but I'd much rather be watching football, covering football, and I know you guys would as well. Only a couple more Saturdays left until we get to do all of that together. What's ESPN think about Tennessee's football schedule coming up, the football season? The FPI, remind you guys, that is the Football Power Index. It's not everything. Moneyball and baseball, by the way, shout out. Love that movie so much. But it's not everything. Stats, analytics, all that type of stuff. It's something. It's one of those things where you need to use it. You need to use it as a resource. Because if you don't, man, you're missing out. You might not be the best coach or player that you can be. I mean, it's in all sports, not just football. It's in baseball, it's in basketball, that type of stuff. But you can't always just rely on that, and that can't be the end-all, be-all. But this is something, and it's why I want to bring it on the show here. I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with the FPI, but it's a Football Power Index, and it's projections based on 20,000 simulations. So it's not just, 5 or 6 simulations. It is 20,000 simulations. All right. The FPI, this is the part that I don't think you guys are going to like a whole lot. The FPI predicts Tennessee to go 8-4 this year. 8-4 this year. I think we can all agree that would probably be a disappointment. Somebody asked in the mailbag show earlier this week, would 8-4 be the end of the world? I think it'd be a disappointment. I do. And look how far you've come, because a couple years ago you're like 8-4, sign me up. Let's go that. Yeah, that's that next step, right? Because there's only been, a couple of 9-win seasons since Fulmer, right? Actually, there's only, regular seasons. I think last year was the first one since Fulmer. It's been a minute. And so 8-4 is not a bad record, but I think it'd be disappointing because I think this team can do much more. But ESPN's FPI predicts Tennessee go to 8-4, a 98% chance of winning 6 wins and go to a bowl game, all right? A 5.4% chance to win the SEC East. That's pretty low, right? I mean, I get it. Georgia's Georgia, but goodness gracious, that's low. And Tennessee's schedule is miles and miles and miles harder than what Georgia's is. I get it, but 5.4%, 1.2% chance to win the SEC championship. You have a greater, and this does make sense, you have a greater chance of going to the college football playoff than winning the SEC championship game at a 2.5% chance of making the college football playoff. So, again, those are some pretty low percentages. It is what it is. However, the ESPN Football Power Index does give Tennessee a 50% chance or better to win 9 games in the regular season. There's only 3 games on the regular season where the FBI gives Tennessee a less than 50% chance of winning. Those 3 games, we'll kind of go down the list here, but Florida, Alabama, at Florida, at Alabama, and Georgia. Those are the 3 games that the FPI gives Tennessee a less than 50% chance of winning. And just because the FPI says Tennessee has a greater than 50% chance of winning, it doesn't mean Tennessee's going to win the game, right? It's just like the weather. It's a 72% chance of rain. You feel like it's going to rain, but it might not. Or how many times you go out there to that body of water, right, and you're ready for that day, for that alcohol in your hand type day, and the sunglasses and the sunscreen, there's a 22% chance of rain. Like, we're good. And what's up, East Tennessee? Pop-up shower. There it is. It can go both ways. But the FBI does give Tennessee, it gives Tennessee a 9 games of 50% chance or more of winning. So I thought that was pretty cool. The FBI gives Tennessee a 90.4% chance of beating Virginia. Tony Elliott is now in his second season. Of course, we remember that from going over the opponents. He'll be looking to try and improve on year number 1. 90.4% chance to win the Virginia game, according to the FBI. Austin Peay, this is the highest percent chance of victory. It's at 98.8. Feels like a good year, right? 98.8. Feels like. Percent chance of victory for the University of Tennessee, and that's kind of self-explanatory. Here's what it says at Florida. And again, I'm reading a little write-up over at VolQuest.com from my colleague Grant Ramey, who got these stats and everything and kind of put them in order here. But at Florida, the ESPN FBI gives Tennessee a 48.3% chance of victory. A lot of contributing factors here, right? Tennessee hadn't won in the Swamp since 2003. The Swamp is a hard place to play. You're away from Neyland Stadium, all that type of stuff. New starting quarterback going to the Swamp. It's not an ideal situation. So it's one of those that is going to be tough for Tennessee, and it's one of those that we obviously know. It's going to be a 7 o'clock Eastern time kick on ESPN in Week 3 for the University of Tennessee. The Gators are ranked number 18 in the FBI, projected to go 7-5, and this will be second year under Billy Napier. SP Plus rankings has Florida at number 21 overall, the 23rd ranked offense, the 38th ranked defense. But Florida's schedule's tough. Florida opens with Utah, has McNeese State before getting to Tennessee, but of course that Utah game is going to be a challenge for Florida. But 48.3% chance to win on the road at Florida for Tennessee, according to the FBI. UTSA, all those people saying, oh, watch out for UTSA and everything. I'm still with you because that high-powered offense, but the FBI doesn't think it's going to be much of an issue for Tennessee. 89.6% chance of victory over University of Texas at San Antonio at Neyland Stadium in Week 4. Here's one that everybody's got circled, South Carolina at Neyland Stadium. FBI gives Tennessee an 81.2% chance of beating the Gamecocks. How about that, right? What about Texas A&M, fresh off the bye week? And remember, A&M host Alabama the week before. According to FBI, Tennessee has a 68.7% chance of victory over Texas A&M. It's going to be a tough one. Boom or bust for Texas A&M. You talk about underachiever of the year. That's Jimbo Fisher. So much talent on that roster. And you finally got a guy in Petrino that can call plays if you get out of his way. Jimbo Fisher. Take some pride out of it. What does Texas A&M look like through 5 weeks of the season? I'm intrigued, or 6 weeks for them. I'm intrigued to see what that is, but of course the FBI gives Tennessee a 68.7% chance of winning. Here's Alabama. 12% chance. This is Tennessee's lowest percentage to win a game on the season, according to the Football Power Index. At Alabama, in Tuscaloosa, only a 12% chance of victory. Of course, Tennessee won 52-49 with the walk-off field goal. Everything happened. Alabama is ranked number 2 in the FBI. They're projected to win 11 games, number 4 in the SP Plus rankings, number 5 offense, and the number 10 defense. Look, the only question they have is quarterback, and that's a huge question, but that roster is good. It's still a Nick Saban roster, but 12%, I think that's a little low. Give Tennessee some credit. Sure, what does Tennessee look like at this stage of the season? But I give Tennessee a little bit more credit than 12%, right? I think that's a little too low. At Kentucky, this one's more of a 50-50 thing, or a kind of a toss-up. 53.2% chance of winning at Kroger Field. You guys know my thoughts on Kentucky. I think they're going to be better. I think they significantly upgraded at quarterback. I like their receivers. What about running back? Offensive line questions, for sure. I hear you. But that's more of a toss-up. A 53.2% chance on the road at Kroger Superstore Field. Sorry, Kroger Field. UConn, 97.3% chance on homecoming. At Missouri, a 65.9% chance of victory. Tennessee has rolled Missouri through 2 years with Josh Heupel. I don't expect it to be much different. Georgia, 22.3% at Neyland Stadium. That's all you're given, the Neyland Stadium home field advantage? What? Of course, Tennessee lost by 14 last year in Athens, 27-13. Georgia's predicted, to go all the way yet again. Number 3 in ESPN's FBI. They're projected to go 11-1. Number 1 in the SP Plus rankings. Number 9 offense and number 3 defense. Georgia is good. 22% chance of beating Georgia at home. That's let's see what these two teams look like. That's November the 18th. It's a long way away. And then Tennessee has a 91.2% chance of beating Vanderbilt. So a lot to like here. 9 of the 12 games, the FBI gives Tennessee a greater than 50% chance of winning. You like that. But overall, after 20,000 simulations, the Football Power Index of ESPN has Tennessee going 8-4 this year, with only a 2.5% chance of making the college football playoff and a 5.4% chance of winning the SEC East. So take it for what it is. It's something. It's not everything. It's why you play football. It's why you play it on the field, all right? You can't determine winners on a notepad and on computer spreadsheets. You got to go out and play. You got to go out and play. Fun show today. Really, really fun show. Enjoyed hearing from Josh Heupel, kind of recapping what we've been hearing and everything about scrimmage number 1. Tennessee football. Don't look now. It's about midway through fall camp. Scrimmage number 2 is coming up next week. They'll have practice this weekend. And everything that I see from there, I'll tell you about it on Monday's edition of Locked On Vols. Can't thank you enough for being here. Thank you guys so much. You everydayers, ride or dies, baby. I'm with you. Have a great weekend. Subscribe, follow, all that good stuff. Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify, Odyssey, YouTube. We're almost to 8,000. Can't thank you enough. All this stuff really helps the show get in front of more and more Tennessee fans. Plus, if you're watching on YouTube, please like, subscribe, share this video. Get it in front of more Tennessee fans. Until Monday, enjoy your weekend, everybody. Appreciate you.